I thought you came here to die.
Well, it's all a matter of perspective.
Spectre is directed by Sam Mendes, and it is the 24th James Bond movie. And this is the 4th James Bond movie with Daniel Craig. Now, going into this movie, I was really excited because I am a huge James Bond fan. I love watching all the movies, even the bad ones like Moonraker and Quantum of Solace. But I find such an enjoyment in all of these movies. Check this out. I got this neat little book. It's got like James Bond facts in it and stuff, and like see like the man with the golden gun and all that stuff. It's pretty neat. It's got like facts about like the Aston Martin, just a bunch of cool stuff. Now, did this movie live up to the excitement that I had for it, especially after Skyfall, which was an incredible movie? Not exactly. Don't get me wrong, this movie is tons of fun, and if you are a James Bond fan like myself, you will find enjoyment in this movie. Now, in order for me to tell you about the plot of this movie, it will contain spoilers about Skyfall, so if you have not seen Skyfall, then go watch that movie because it's fabulous, and then come back and watch my review. Now, as I'm sure you guys know, in Skyfall, Judi Dench's character, M, was killed. Now, the events in Spectre are pretty recent after the events in Skyfall, and this movie is about when James Bond receives a tape from M. She tells Bond, if anything happens to me, you need to go kill this guy. So the whole movie is about Bond trying to find this guy and killing him, but when he's trying to find out who this guy is, he ends up uncovering this secret organization bad guy thing. It's kind of like the Legion of Doom from the Super Friends. And then there's this like side plot of the 00 program getting like shut down because of the Big Brother stuff and trying to have information be the key to winning wars and not necessarily the old style way of doing things with guns and secret agents and all that, using computers and satellites to get information instead of these unreliable 00 agents. Now, a lot of the reviews I've heard are saying that it's exactly like Mission Impossible 5, and I'd have to say that, yeah, in Mission Impossible 5 there was this whole Big Brother thing involved in it, but Mission Impossible 5 was not the first movie to have the whole surveillance idea. Movies like Enemy of the State, Eagle Eye, which wasn't very good, but there's tons of other movies that are like that. Now, this movie, there's a lot of good, and then there's some bad. So, it's hard for me to kind of say it in the way that flows, so I'm just going to have to say the things that worked and the things that didn't work. So, for the thing that works, let me just say, right off the bat, Sam Smith, just bravo. Bravo to Sam Smith. That dude has freaking got some chops. That guy can sing. Dear Lord, he's like an angel. This is, oh God. Given that the opening title sequence for Spectre is a little weird because there's like this squid stuff, which I understand, but then there's like this weird like fire stuff, which I don't really understand. It kind of felt like two different people were writing for the opening title sequence. I wish they would have just kept with the squid stuff because that would have made more sense to the movie, as opposed to this weird fire stuff where he's like shirtless and these women are like grabbing him and stuff. I don't know, it's kind of read weird to me. Something else that worked in this movie is Daniel Craig as James Bond. Now, like I said before, this is the 4th movie we've had with Daniel Craig as James Bond, and this guy freaking delivers as he always does. Even in Quantum of Solace, that movie is not very good, but he is still incredible in that movie. Daniel Craig is my favorite James Bond by far, and I could watch this guy for 20 more movies. This movie also has a very sleek look, similar to Skyfall, but not as good as Skyfall because Skyfall had Roger Deakins, the master of cinematography. But everything looks very clean in this movie, and it's very appealing to the eye. I also really liked the Bond girl in this movie. Her name is Léa Seydoux. Seydoux. I think it's French, and I don't speak French, so I apologize if I mispronounce that. I thought she was very interesting. She knows her way around a gun. She can at least hold her own in a fight. She's not just there to be like, oh, I'm hot. please take advantage of me. And if you didn't know, Dave Bautista is in this movie, and if you don't know who Dave Bautista is, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy. And this is kind of a cliche role for him, I guess. He's a big guy, so in this movie he just plays a big guy. He's just the cliche big guy in action movies. He's kind of like Jaws from Moonraker and The Spy Who Loved Me. He's just those guys in those action movies that when you like punch in the face, the hero's like, ah, and then the guy's like, ha ha ha, I'm huge. But he did fine. I didn't mind him at all. He was a nice touch to the movie. I didn't think that he was a wasted talent because he's just Dave Bautista to me. I haven't seen anything where I was like, wow, Dave Bautista was great in that. Like, I enjoyed watching him in Guardians of the Galaxy, but I didn't leave that being like, oh my god, I love Dave Bautista. Like I said before, Judi Dench had passed away in Skyfall. It was very sad. But she was replaced by Ralph Fiennes, who was Voldemort in the Harry Potter movies, and he was that scumbag of a human being in the Schindler's List movie. But he is M in this movie. And I really enjoyed him as M. He's really cool. He's not just the guy that's like, 007, I've got a mission for you. Go see Q and get your stuff. Like, he's actually a pretty important part of this movie, and I really like Ralph Fiennes. I think he's a great actor, and Schindler's List, I just want to punch him in the face, but he gives an amazing performance in that movie, and he does that again in this movie. I also like the kid who plays Q. I am totally blanking on his name right now, so I'm going to put it right here. Good job, guy. I'm sorry I forgot your name, but I really liked him as Q. Again, he's not just the cliche like, 007, here's your exploding pen, please bring it back in one piece this time. He brings a lighter part to the movie, and he is actually another important character in this movie. I also enjoyed some of the action in this movie. Some of the fighting was cool. It was way better filmed than in Quantum of Solace, where there's like a million jump cuts and they're just trying really, really hard to be like Bourne. Now, those aren't all the good things about this movie. I'm sure I'm forgetting some of the things because I've only seen this movie once, but that's just the ones that stick out to me. Now, this movie does have some problems that were pretty, there are pretty big problems that I felt like really drug this movie down and just didn't make it as good as I wanted it to be. Right off the bat, this movie is 2.5 hours long. I'm a huge Bond fan, so I don't really mind the 2.5 hour long runtime because obviously I've seen 24 of these movies with the same character, so I don't really mind being in this universe and watching this character do his thing. But if you are not a huge Bond fan, this movie can seem a little tiresome and tedious and boring. Okay, in the first scene of this movie, it is Day of the Dead in Mexico. And there's this real long tracking shot that follows this guy walking through the Day of the Dead, and then it follows Bond. And Bond's wearing that skull mask with the top hat that you've seen in the poster. And it follows Bond with this girl, and it follows him up to his hotel room where Bond, changes into his suit and leaves to go do Bond stuff. And that whole thing looks like one shot, and it's amazing. And when I was watching that, I was like, dude, this movie is about to be awesome. But the whole movie wasn't as spectacular as that opening shot. So after this really long opening shot, you see Bond doing some James Bond stuff, and then it ends up leading him to a helicopter where he's fighting this bad guy. Now, the helicopter, takes off the ground, and he's, fighting this bad guy, and the helicopter pilot, turns around, and Bond, clocks him right in the face, and he, continues to fight the pilot, who is piloting a helicopter over Day of the Dead. And I don't know if you know what Day of the Dead is, but it's a big party in Mexico where there's freaking thousands of people, and they are flying this helicopter above thousands of people, and Bond is trying to beat the crap out of the pilot. Now, if the pilot is unconscious, the helicopter will plummet to the ground and kill thousands of people. Now, that just seems kind of out of character for James Bond to put all these people's lives in danger. I don't really think we've seen that much in the Daniel Craig movies, especially. It was just really weird, because even after he punches him in the face, the helicopter pilot is swinging the thing around, and he keeps swinging the helicopter 30 times even after Bond is fighting the guy. Bond is fighting the other bad guy, and the helicopter is still swinging around Bond hit him that hard that he cannot regain control of the helicopter for like 2.5 minutes. It's really well shot, give you that. It looks great, but it just really seems out of character for Bond to put all these people's lives in danger, and it's just kind of ridiculous how the pilot cannot regain control of this helicopter off of one punch. I mean, I don't know, it was very weird to me. Now, if you don't know, in Spectre, they made this car. It's like a concept car, I don't remember what it's called, but it's an Aston Martin, and it is custom for this movie, and they spent tons of money on this car, and it's really only in the movie for like a scene and a half. Like, it's not that big of a role, and the whole movie is kind of like that. You get introduced to something that's really, really cool, like the car, and you're like, oh, that's freaking, oh, okay, I guess we're done with that. Now, that's what kind of happens in this movie. You're introduced to something really cool, and it's kind of just taken away from you way too early to where you didn't even get to, like, play with it and have fun with it yet. And that can be said for Christoph Waltz in this movie. Now, if you don't know who Christoph Waltz is, he is the Nazi in Inglourious Basterds. He is in Django. He's Jamie Foxx's partner in that movie. And he's in several other movies, but I really like Christoph Waltz. And when I heard he was a Bond villain, I did one of these. Yes! Ugh, it's gonna be awesome! Because Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Basterds is freaking insane, and he's terrifying in that movie. The opening scene where the Jews are under the ground and he's talking to that farmer guy, whoo! Scene is freaking, oh man, ugh, edge of your seat kind of stuff. And when he was casted, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy was born to be a Bond villain, and I was super excited for him in this movie. But what they do with him is really, really frustrating. He is only in the movie for a little bit. Now, something you could say about Skyfall is that the character of Silva was only in the movie for a little bit, which is true, but at least when he's introduced, he's in the movie for the rest of the time. You're not really not with that character. He's with everybody the rest of the time. He's causing chaos for everybody, and Javier Bardem is incredible in that movie, and great Bond villain. But in this movie, when you're introduced to him, it's like this dark area, and all the bad guys are at this table, and they're like, how are we going to ruin the world today? But after that scene, he is taken away from you, and you do not see him for freaking forever. If I had to guess the total screen time of his character, I'd ballpark it around like 15 minutes? Probably about 15 minutes. And that's such a shame, because Christoph Waltz is awesome, and he's barely in the movie, and that is such a poor use of that actor. If you're going to have a character in the movie for 15 minutes, just get some Joe Schmo and throw him in there, and only have him in it for 15 minutes. Don't blow your wad with Christoph Waltz. Save him for another villain, so you can have him in the entirety of the movie, and have him be a crucial part. When he's in it, he's only like, hey Bond, you remember your dead girlfriend? Yeah, that was me. Hey Bond, remember M? She died. That was me. Remember all this bad stuff that happened to you? That was me. And so he doesn't really do anything that's like, oh wow, he's really terrifying. He's a scumbag of a human being. And then they turn him into this really cliche Bond villain. In Austin Powers, Dr. Evil is portrayed as a cliche Bond villain. He's got the scar down his eye, and he's like stroking a cat, and he's like, I want $1 million, you know. He does all that cliche things, and what they do with him is very cliche. At one point in this movie, not even joking, he has a cat, and he doesn't like pet it like this, but he has a cat. Something that Casino Royale did really well. Casino Royale is my favorite Bond movie. It is perfect. It's a perfect movie, and it is incredible, and I watch it at least 4 times a year. But something that made Casino Royale really, really great is it kind of gave the finger to the Bond tropes and the Bond cliches. Like when Bond orders a vodka martini, and he's like shaking, not stirred. He's like, do I really look like I give a damn? And it's just like, oh yeah, that's what I like to see. That's an awesome part. And it doesn't do like the Bond circle thing where he like shoots down the barrel. It doesn't just shoehorn that in there. It does it with a very creative way. Also in Casino Royale, when he's with that really, really hot chick that is the wife of that one bad guy that he beats in the poker game, you think he's about to sleep with this woman, but once he gets her information, he leaves. And that's something that's great, because if it was a Roger Moore movie, he would just sleep with her and that would be the end of it, and then he'd leave and go Bond later. But again, that's what made Casino Royale so great. And then in Skyfall, there wasn't a lot of Bond tropes, but there was some, like, nods, like, hey, here's for you, Bond fans. Like, there was the Aston Martin and a bunch of that kind of stuff. But in Skyfall, even if you throw the Aston Martin in there, that doesn't really degrade the quality of the movie. It just adds the car in there. And it just doesn't make the movie any less realistic. And what I mean by that, Inspector, it embraces the Bond cliches. Like, Bond is fighting this guy, and he ends up killing this guy, and he's with the girl, and he's like, what are we gonna do now? And then it cuts to them in their room, and they're just, like, sleeping with each other. And it's just like, the Bond from Casino Royale would not have done that. That Bond would not go sleep with this woman after having, like, broken ribs and got punched in the face like 15 times. He wouldn't do that. And it shoehorns the shoot down the barrel thing, and it just embraces all the Bond cliches, even to, like I said, the Bond villain. And I think that is the biggest problem with this movie, is that it's so cliche in all the things that make the Bond movies, and it's not as Daniel Craig as it is Roger Moore. Like I said, Spectre is a really fun movie, and I had a great time watching it. But if you're not a James Bond fan and you've only seen a handful of the movies, you're probably not going to love this movie, and I can't send you to the theater to go see it. If you do enjoy the James Bond movies, go see this movie, because it's a ton of fun, and it's way better than Quantum of Solace. It is not as good as Casino Royale or Skyfall, sadly, but it is a fun time, and I'm definitely still going to buy it on Blu-ray. It's well directed. Daniel Craig is still great. Some of the action is fun. The cinematography is beautiful. It's such eye candy of a movie. But because of the cliche writing and the missed opportunities, I have to give Spectre a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked this video. If you did, you can click on the link down below and see more movie reviews and movie related things. Again, guys, thanks for watching, and see you next time.